What is a workforce planning in the first place? Workforce planning is ensuring that organizations have the right people at the right time. A successful workforce planning process helps any organization design, develop, and deliver the future workforce. In order to workforce plan effectively and successfully, any organization needs to look at how it structures, deploys, and how it uses people it has on both operational and strategic level. There are two types of workforce planning. One of them is operational, the other one is strategic. Operational workforce planning is looking at it from a short-term perspective. A typical example would be where a department is looking at what's happening here and now, what is happening today, what is going to happen tomorrow, what is happening this week, and what's happening this month. So, for example, they could be looking at sickness rate, vacancies, absences, and general attendance. Strategic workforce planning takes a long-term view. The aim and the goal is that the organization needs to have the right skills, the right people, the right roles that can meet both short-term and long-term business objectives. Strategic workforce plans can be created anywhere between 1 to 5 years, but the main request is to review it on a regular basis, usually on a yearly basis. Strategic workforce planning builds upon data and intelligence across the organization to identify and discuss opportunities as to how our teams and departments could work differently, identify innovative and new roles or emerging new skills that could be implemented in order to increase productivity and quality. So therefore, in a nutshell, strategic workforce planning is building a long-term context for short-term decision-making, focusing on positions where you need to be proactive and need time to react, creating new plans in response to new business strategies or as and when any change is discussed in the business, focusing on scenario planning and what may happen in the future. I find that this overall process and a tool and a methodology really helps any business be ready for any challenges that may take place down the road. It will also help senior people think about options and what may happen in the future and overall reduce anxiety levels. Organizations across the world may use different strategic workforce methodologies. However, in a nutshell, it always boils down to these 3 or 4 steps. Each step may require a separate workshop. Step 1 is all about defining the plan. A department or a business is required to identify current and future services and the workforce it needs to achieve those services. Step 2 is workforce supply. Where will all these people come from with relevant skills and abilities? Step 3 is all about actioning your plan and implementation. And step 4 is all about evaluation and reviewing your plan on a regular basis. Your workshop agenda would usually cover following. In the first workshop, where you're looking to define the plan, your agenda would usually cover the following: identify the purpose and scope of the plan and establish ownership and responsibilities. Describe the current service, the types of activities that you undertake, and how the service will change over the timescale of the workforce plan. Map the new service activities, identify the skills and abilities needed, and the types and number of staff that will be required. And this is where you would also cover how service may change over time. You would normally do like a pestle analysis, you would look at future demand changes, you would look at all internal moves, scenario planning, skills and abilities demand. In your workshop 2, your agenda would usually cover the following: map out the current workforce in terms of existing skills, abilities, and demographics. Discuss the gap between the existing and the future workforce. The question that really should be asked: can the future workforce be delivered? Examine where the future workforce will come from, outline resourcing and learning or educational implications. You would look at forecast attrition, demography, diversity, succession planning, focusing on critical roles and critical people, talent identification, supply routes, and future labor market trends. And in your third workshop, where you're focusing on your action plan and implementation, you will be looking to finalize your plan that will seek to deliver the staff that your department and organization require and outline how the change will be managed, monitored, and evaluated. It is important to revisit your plan and methodology on a regular basis to make sure you reflect any unplanned or subsequent changes. The questions to cover in this workshop would be around what factors may change this plan. Where do we expect to see improvements? Who is ultimately accountable and responsible for this plan? You can find and download from our digital store a strategic workforce planning toolkit with relevant questionnaire and methodology that you can use to facilitate these conversations with your senior leaders and ultimately produce a strategic workforce plan with them. You will feel ready and prepared for these kind of sessions, and your leaders will feel you're asking them the right questions. It is important to add that these plans are owned by relevant departments and organizations. Us, as a HR professionals, HR business partners, we simply facilitate and enable relevant sessions to take place. Subject to structures you work in and HR operating models, you may work with various specialist teams, and one of those teams may be called workforce planning team. Sometimes you may have to work alongside them. They would be the ones who would help you facilitate this session. They would prepare lots of data for you, and you would work with them really to enable leaders to have these good quality conversations. And overall, their plan is produced that is then reviewed on a regular basis. If you work for small to medium-sized organizations where there is no HR analysts or workforce planning team, my toolkit will help you understand this topic and what sort of conversations you need to have with your leaders in order to produce this plan. I think you will find well equipped to do that, and your leaders and senior management team will definitely feel you know what you're on about, and they should feel you're asking the right questions in order to produce this effective and productive plan for them. As a reminder, it is all about understanding their challenges and concerns and addressing those anxiety levels across the organization when they know there is a particular plan in place with various scenarios covered. I have also launched an HR business partner course. This is really a technical course covering 3 modules that will really focus on assessment of our departments, organizational design methodologies, business cases, people plans, and much more. If you have enjoyed this video, there are many other similar ones on my channel, and please let me know if you have any questions down below or send me an email. Speak to you soon.